IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship season has found its way into the Finger Lakes region of New York State and the road course at Watkins Glen. It's time to go racing with IMSA Prototype Challenge. It's round 4 of 6 on NBCSN. It's the IMSA Prototype Challenge round 4 from Watkins Glen International in Watkins Glen, New York. I'm Brian Till along with Jeremy Shaw. We'll have the call of all the action today, but let's take a look at the weather first. It's been a rainy start to the weekend, but today we're overcast. A 20% chance of rain is what the forecasters say, but I'm not sure about that. Temps in the mid-60s and a slight breeze out of the south. Maurice Grant's in the 21 from Mueller Motorsports America with 2 wins on the season. Sits atop the points, holding a 40-point advantage on second-place drivers Dakota Dickerson and Josh Charget in the 54 MLT Motorsports Ligier. And brothers David and Keith Grant from Germantown, Tennessee sit third in points, but they'll be looking for the top step of the podium today. Where is Watkins Glen? Well, just north of the border on the southern side of New York State at the bottom of the Finger Lakes. Lake Seneca, the longest of the Finger Lakes, 3.4 miles, 11 turns, and some great passing areas on this racetrack and some areas that are historic by name. The inner loop, turn 8, the heel of the boot, and turn 1. Those are also good passing areas, but anywhere you can get it done here at Watkins Glen. Also into the toe of the boot, you can get a pass done there. Take a look at how they'll line up today. Maurice Krantz on the pole alongside Dakota Dickerson and Josh Charget. That's first and second in the championship and first and second on the racetrack. Row 2, Keith and David Grant, they'll line up third. They're third in the championship. And then the very quick Dan Goldberg, Rasmus Lind alongside. That fills out row 2. We talked about championship points. You have to look all the way back in row 8 in the 15th starting position. Scullin and Huffaker, 5th in the championship, start 15th on the grid. The field behind working to get temperature in the tires. And Jeremy, I talked about 16 cars. They're different, actually 2 different classes in the IMSA Prototype Challenge. There is the P3-1 class, the P3-2 class, just 3 of the P3-2 entries. Those are last year's model cars. This year's model cars run in the P3-1 class. That's what the majority of the cars are. Babindum looking for the green flag. He throws it. It's time to go racing at Watkins Glen. IMSA Prototype Challenge, and it is 4 wide to turn 1. You might get through there wheel to wheel, side by side. You won't get through there with 4. And the 40, Grant off to the outside. Another car off to avoid. Grant just got in there, locks the right front. Can't get the car turned. Off the curbing he goes. No harm, no foul with that extra runoff, and he's back on track, but he's losing positions.
He is, and he kind of took the Josh Charget, who started on the outside of the front row with him there, off into the escape road there at turn 1. So Maurice Krantz has got a good lead heading down the back straight into the inner loop. And from the outside, from the inside of the third row, I think that's the car of 34, Antoine Cameau, moves up to second place, and Joe Robillard goes for a spin at the inner loop.
Robillard around, and I don't know that anyone got in contact with him. And he's back underway, but I did see a piece come off the back of one of the prototypes. Robillard, top of the screen, has contact. That's what turns him around, side-by-side contact. Everybody goes around to miss him. And then across the grass, I think it was the second of the 47 Motorsports entries, loses what we call that cheese wedge there at the back on the rear bodywork. And again, some lockup by the 40. There's that piece of bodywork out in the racetrack. We'll have to see if the officials want to go get that. But I wonder, Jeremy, if Grant in that bright yellow 40 hasn't flat spotted that right front tire. And what I mean by that is the tire locks up and it literally just grinds it off to a flat spot. And then the next time you go to the brakes, it'll roll to that flat spot and stay. It's almost like getting one of those thumper shopper carts at the grocery store, I always call it. It's got that flat tire on it.
Yeah, that was a pretty bold moment there for David Grant at turn 1. It was a good try down the inside. He's absolutely 4 abreast going down into turn 1. That's always pretty dodgy around. He's got a lot of experience in this racetrack. He does lock up. Looks like the rear brakes locked up just a little bit on that caliber 40. He slid a little bit wide, but was able to get back onto the track and not lose too many positions. He was kind of lucky there, I think.
I agree. That's that JD
on the first lap.
There's the cheese wedge to the outside, driver's left, and you exit the bus stop. I don't think that's going to be a problem for the drivers. Around the outside, and now Grant with a problem. This is a lot bigger problem than he had in turn one. Trying to go around another car on the outside, headed into the carousel that takes you down to the laces of the boot. Grant just gets a little loose. Car gets up in the gray, and it is gone. He's going to try to go around the 74, looks to the high side, just gets up there, and it snaps, Jeremy.
Yeah, that was... Yeah, he's got a lot of experience around this racetrack, and very early on in a race, just a second lap. I mean, the tyres are barely up to optimal working temperature here, so it's a little bit optimistic, I think, there from David Grant, and he's got that car going again. We're already, I think, under full course caution, so he's going to be able to get that car back to the pit lane, but he's left the rear wing there and various other bits and pieces embedded into that tyre wall, so officials have no choice but to go to yellow here. Looks around the outside and just gets out onto the grey part of the track. There's not a lot of grip there at the best of times, particularly with the rain that we've had over this weekend, and the car just got loose on him and around it went.
What this full course caution will do, Jeremy, is allow drivers like Joe Robillard to get back with the pack. It'll draw everybody back together. We'll be right back with more IMSA Prototype Challenge Racing on NBCSN. Keep an eye on the 54, the car in third, white, orange, and a little bit of purple on it. That's the first of the Ligier chassis, so get an eye out for these guys. Keep an eye on them at the exit of turn one. See who gets a little better run. That'll be handling, and then see who gets a better jump down the straightaway. Right now, the 54, Josh Charget looking to the inside of the 34. Camo, and he gets by. At least for now, they'll get to turn two, and you've got to be really brave to go side by side through the S's.
Yeah, not really recommended at this stage in the game to go side by side through there, and indeed they do tuck into single file. So a really nice pass there from Josh Sargent, qualified a career best second in this car yesterday. That the front-running two cars are first and second in the championship. Moritz Franz leads the championship. He's won 2 of the 3 races. We see some shuffling position a little bit further back. Alan Brynjolfsson trying to make a move there in that bright yellow car. But Josh Charset, he's driving that car, sharing that MLT Motorsports Ligier with Dakota Dickerson later in this race. They finished on the podium in all 3 races, whereas Moritz Franz, he's going solo in this 1 hour 45-minute race.
And when pit stops happen, Krantz will have the advantage of knowing what the racetrack is like, but I can tell you that an hour and 45 minutes around this racetrack is very taxing to the driver, so perhaps the 2-driver lineup, the better choice. We'll find out in an hour and 32 minutes and change. As you said it, Alan Brynjolfsson in that bright yellow Volt number 7, moving up. Good run with Dan Goldberg there. Goldberg has been very impressive in the IMSA Prototype Challenge category over the last year. But Brynjolfsson, his teammate Trent Hinman, new to prototype racing. They're having to learn the aerodynamic aspects of it. They come from GT, and this is a much more aerodynamic dependent car than a GT car is.
Yeah, we're thinking about the downforce these cars. I mean, they really are fast, and it is a physical racetrack too, particularly if it's super hot. It's not super hot today. It's not as hot as it was earlier in the week, but it's still a very physical to drive. These S's here, the uphill S's and onto the back straight. Those corners are really fast, and you get thrown around in these cars. They have a lot of grip.
A lot of grip indeed. Brynjolfsson still ahead of the number 6, the blue and red Motel 6 entry, Dan Goldberg, and wow, up on the curbs Brynjolfsson is, and that's something that you do a lot in a GT car, but in a downforce car, we were just talking about having to learn downforce aspects of it. It's not a place you really want to spend a lot of time in a downforce car with this long flat bottom underneath it. It upsets the aerodynamic balance when you get one side more up in the air than the other, and that'll just be lessons that Alan Brynjolfsson and Trent Hinman need to learn. Hinman was saying that he contacted Dane Cameron, who drives for Meyer Shank Racing in the Acura DPI in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. They're friends and have been for a long time. Called Dane and just said, hey, give me some advice. We're going to a high-speed racetrack where the aerodynamic balance is going to be critical. How do we do this? Give me some pointers. And Dane was very open with explaining to him what he needed to work on, what they should look for, and the nuances of an aerodynamic car. It's not just get in, mash the pedals, turn the wheel, and go.
No, it's not, is it? There is quite a fair bit of thought that has to go into driving these cars and getting the most out of them. Completing lap 6, then that's a new fastest car on the track that time around was the second place car of Josh Sarchet. He closed in by 2 or 3 tenths of a second of a lap on Moritz Kranz last time around. 142.869 there for Josh Sarchet in that second place car. And he's certainly got his eyes set on that car ahead of him. So it's Chicane that leads. Ligier now in second position. Antoine Comot, he's pretty much on his own in third position. But Alan Brynjolfsson, having made that pass for position in that bright yellow Volks Racing with Archangel Ligier, he's got his mirrors absolutely filled with the Motel 6 entry for Performance Tech Motorsports. That is Dan Goldberg right behind him.
A lot of experience in type for Dan Goldberg, and we were just talking about very little experience in type for Alan Brynjolfsson, although he and Trent Hinman did win the second round of the championship at Sebring. I think of Sebring, with the exception of turn 1 and then turn 16, 17, is not a real aero track. Jeremy, it's a track where there's a lot of 90-degree corners and a lot of lower speed corners where the aerodynamics have less of an effect on the car, and so you rely on them a little less. But here at Watkins Glen, long sweeping high-speed corners, even turn 9 there, the left-hander back onto the short course, even though it's a lower speed corner, with the undulations in the road, you need the aerodynamics to help hold the car down. And right now, Dan Goldberg sights fixed on that rear wing of Alan Brynjolfsson in the 7 just in front.
Yeah, super battle developing at the front, and also that battle for 4th and 5th position between Brynjolfsson and Goldberg is continuing a little bit further down the field behind Joe Robillard, John Brownson, and Anthony Lazaro, the veteran driver, making his return to the series in that older spec car. He's running out comfortably in front in the P3-2 category for Sean Creech Motorsports with Anthony Lazaro. And good to see Anthony back at the wheel of a prototype car. He's had a lot of experience in a lot of different cars over the years.
Oh, he's driven just about everything, and it's kind of funny to watch. He has so much experience, and you could see him closing in on the car in front of Brownson there into turn 1, but with the older spec car in the P3-2 category, it doesn't have the horsepower, it doesn't have the aerodynamics, so it should not be as quick. But Anthony Lazaro just wringing the neck of that 24 right now, and I saw him actually at a karting event in Mid-Ohio a couple of weeks ago, and he was like, yeah, I'm gonna drive a 250 shifter kart. I haven't driven one in a while. It seems like it'd be a lot of fun, and spends a lot of time driving vintage cars, driving vintage Formula One cars, you name it. I remember when Anthony was running in the Atlantic Series, and he would show up at racetracks and win, by the way, with his Atlanta car on a flatbed trailer when everybody else was showing up in their big transporters with their really large budgets. Anthony Lazaro was wrenching on his car and hauling it on a flatbed trailer. So come a long way. Super talented guy, very friendly, and very fast. And you can watch him through the corners in that black and red 24. Just in front of him, the 47 of John Brownson. And we talked about it, 2 different classes, but he gets through the corner a little bit quicker. 47 pulls away a little bit on the straightaway, but in the braking zone, especially down here in turn 1, he'll just close in, but then there's nothing you can really do about it as they come off the corner, because the newer spec car, a little more horsepower, a little better aerodynamics, will pull him by the time they get to the bus stop.
Yeah, that's right. Anthony, he's just out there. He's not thinking about classes right now. He's just having fun. Exactly. He's just thrilled to be back at the wheel of an IMSA a car in IMSA competition. He loves this series. He's had a lot of success, as you say, in different series over the years, and he's just relishing the fact that not only is he driving a race car, he's driving a competitive race car, and he's got two guys right in front of him who he wants to overtake.
Well, absolutely, and think about the pedigree of these LMP3 cars. Not only do they run in IMSA Prototype Challenge, but they also run this year in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, and I think that class in WeatherTech has been a success. We'll be right back with more IMSA Prototype Challenge racing on NBCSN. Welcome back to IMSA Prototype Challenge from the Glen. One of the things I'm noticing on the 21, that light blue and white 21, our leader, to me, Jeremy, it looks like the car is beginning to move around a little bit more, and you would expect that. We're well into the race right now, 36 and a half minutes in, but even when he was going past lap traffic in the toe of the boot, a slightly earlier turn-in, it tells me maybe he's not comfortable with the car at turn-in, and the 34 now with a problem. We talked about Antoine Comeau and the good job he was doing, but off at turn 1, a spin there, and that's going to drop him. Brynjolfsson in the bright yellow 7 slides by, so Brynjolfsson will move up to a podium position, and the 34 will slide back at least one spot. Still a long way to go. Let's see what happens. Just get the tail end of it. I believe it was on his own, Jeremy. Probably just carried a little too much speed in, lost it just before the apex. So he was around before he got to the apex and won. Gets the car back underway. Hopefully he didn't flat spot the tires and will be able to pick the pace back up. But I was saying about Moritz Krantz, I'm wondering if the handling of that Duquesne beginning to go away just a little bit. But what happened to Josh Sargent? Did traffic drop him that far back? I didn't even see him in the shot, and he's 5.3 seconds at the line the last time by.
Yeah, the previous lap, coming through a turn, he made the pass into 11. I think he had to lift off going to 10, so that cost him a fair bit of time. And I think it just cost him momentum more than anything else. And Moritz Krantz, he's still turning consistent laps. So 142.1 last round. Moritz Krantz has just reset the fastest lap of the race at a 141.264. So he has really got his act together now. And there's a replay of that explains it.
There's the problem.
Second place car of Sargent way over the curbs at the exit of the inner loop. That's cost him a lot of time.
And another problem for Comeau, the 34 off and stuck in the gravel, and all the work that Krantz had done to build that lead is going to go away, because this, I believe, will bring out a full course caution. That is in turn 8, and
what's he doing? He's embedded the rear wheels now in the gravel. He's not going to be able to get out of there without a tow. It looked like he should have been easily able to stop that car. I guess he wasn't able to find the brake pedal going backwards and allowed the car to drift back into the gravel. That's most unfortunate for that team.
Well,
and that's.
Think about this too, Jeremy. He's not that experienced in these cars. So when I watch him rolling backwards, is he looking down for switches in the car? Is he trying to get something sorted out so he can? No, I think he's just unaware that the gravel is back there. Welcome back to IMSA Prototype Challenge from the Glen. So 56 minutes to go, and it is going to be a shootout. What has happened so far? Let's take you back to the green. A little race recap. Here's the start, the 40 down to the inside of the pole sitter. David Grant there in that bright yellow 40 just lights up the right front. Goes a little bit wide, then problems for Joe Robillard. Side-by-side contact into the bus stop. He goes around, car not damaged. He's back in the fight. So was David Grant, but exit of the bus stop gets a little wide in the carousel. Big damage to the back of the 40. They were third in the championship coming in. On the restart, the 54, Josh Sargent, power move up the inside. Antoine Comeau gets the job done. And then a problem for the 6. Dan Goldberg had been running well, putting pressure on Alan Brynjolfsson. He goes around in the bus stop. And then the problem for Commode, 34, that brought out the full course caution. They've gotten him back out, and we are back racing in the 54 in front. Dakota Dickerson, a lot of talent, a lot of experience. He needs to put it all to play right here. Krantz has a look around the outside. Dickerson with the block, and now cold Michelin tires for all these competitors. Up through the S's, slides a little wide. This is intense.
Wow, that certainly is. And for Dakota Dickerson, he's just getting fresh into that car, so he doesn't know how much grip there is on the racetrack. So he left his braking super deep for the inner loop. He's able to maintain the position, runs wide, and that was a really, really good job by Dakota Dickerson to hold on to that lead. In third place now, Trent Hinman. He knows how to win at this racetrack, and he's in the third position. Again, even for someone with the experience of Trent Hinman, it's going to take him a lap or two to really get himself up to grips with how this car is handling on this racetrack right now. And in the fourth position, another young charger, Rasmus Lind from Sweden.
You watch these cars on the racetrack right now, and the 21 Krantz goes around. And I think that's an unforced error, Jeremy. I think coming off the toe of the boot, he may just get a little wheel spin, and around he goes. We'll have to take a look and see if we can find out what happened, but we know the end result. Krantz was around. I was getting ready to say, if you live in the colder climates, you've walked outside in the dead of winter and you've had some of that black ice and you step on it and your feet kind of slide and you regain your grip and you find your balance and you stay upright. That's exactly what these cars are like right now. You saw it with Dakota Dickerson as he challenged Krantz at the start, was able to hold the lead, but going through the bus stop, it was just trying to retain his balance, keep the car underneath him. What happened to Krantz on his own? Indeed, Jeremy, just got that little bit of wheel spin coming off the toe of the boot, and around it goes.
Around it goes indeed, and that could be a costly error, because in the championship positions coming into this weekend, the new point scoring system this year, he had a 40-point lead, did Moritz Krantz, over Dakota Dickerson and Josh Sarche. So he was looking to extend that lead. He was behind him. The difference between first and second position is 30 points, but beyond that, of course, it's much more. So that spin will drop the number 21 car to quite a few positions back. He was able to rejoin actually in sixth position. He was lucky.
Well, and here's the problem. I mean, he was lucky that he didn't get hit by another car behind, but here's the problem. It's the A game that's in front of him now. The drivers who have stepped into the cockpits of the 6, of the 7, of the 43, they are the hired guns. Rasmus Lind, Trent Hinman, Stephen McAleer, Cangialosi in the 47. He's going to have to work harder to get by those cars than perhaps he would have had with the opening drivers for those cars. So not only is Krantz back in 6, but the job to get forward is going to be very difficult indeed.
Yeah, it certainly is. And there was a pit stop, another pit stop there, by the way, for Garrett Grist in car number 33. He'd come out of the pit stops in the 6th position in that car, having taken over from Ari Balog, who did a nice job through the opening stint in this race. He's running in 7th, but Garrett Grist has just had a pit lane speed violation. Actually, no, that's going to be his second penalty. First of all, there was a wheel rotation while up on the jacks. That was a drive-through penalty. He's now got another penalty for a pit lane speed violation in car number 33. Also, pit lane speed violation for car number 60. That is Tony Kazimierz, who is back down the order, but back on the lead lap in car number 60. The number 60 and 34 and the number 46, they both got their lap back, but had not caught up to the back of the pack when we went back to green. So they're a long way back from the leaders. They need another full course caution really to get themselves back in the picture. But boy, that lead for Dakota Dickerson, wow. It was 2 seconds. It's completely evaporated.
It's completely evaporated. Trent Hinman, we talked earlier about coming to grips with aerodynamic cars. Well, it looks like he's got it sorted out. Third on the racetrack is Rasmus Lind in the blue and red number 6. but he's got some damage to the left front dive plane, and he's also having a difficult time with the lap car in front, so he's trying to catch up with Hinman, but having a difficult time trying to get to that fight that's being waged right now by Hinman on Dickerson. Looking in the top of the shot, the 43, Stephen McAleer holding on as well. Scott Huffaker in the 46, the green and white that's in front of the 6, and Dickerson still looks like he's trying to find some temperature in those Michelin tires. The 46 right behind Hinman is not for position. That car is 1 lap down, but Scott Huffaker, a great job. He finished second in the LMP2 car with Ben Keating and Mikkel Jensen in last weekend sailing 6 hours of the Glen. So a very, very fast race car driver. And you know, this is that difficult position, Jeremy, where you're fast. You're just as fast as the guys you're racing with, but you're a lap down. If the car directly in front were the leader, you could say, I see you trying to get your lap back. I get it. But how far down the order do you go as a lap car before you need to just say, I need to make sure I stay out of the fight here for the lead, for the win in this class?
Yeah, so I was mistaken. I thought those cars, number 46, 34, 61, 60, had regained the lead lap during that pit stop sequence. Clearly they didn't. Not sure why. So they are still a lap down. So it's going to have to go. Yeah, he's got a lot of work to do, and there's another couple of cars battling behind him, 74 and 34. Colin Mullen. They are also shown as 1 lap down. They're going to be all in amongst this kind of lead pack of cars, and Dakota Dickerson, he's kind of settled himself down. He must have made a mistake on that second lap back to green, in much the same way as Moritz Kranz did the lap before. And now then Dakota Dickerson is trying to hold on to that lead against somebody with experience in Trent Hinman, as Moritz Kranz is running in the 5th position.
We'll be right back with more IMSA Prototype Challenge Racing on NBCSN.
Moritz Kranz now, in terms of speed, is in a class of his own. It's just incredible to me how quickly he's managed to pull away from someone like Rasmus Lind, who is a young star potentially in this sport. 19 years of age, only from Gothenburg in Sweden. He came up through the road to Indy very impressively. He was second in his rookie season of the USF 2000, which is the first step rung on the road to Indy ladder. The following year he moved up directly into Indy Pro 2000, which is step number 2, finished second again on both occasions behind Carl Kirkwood, who is very definitely a star of the future. He's a very quick individual. Oops, this is I think
that's Jake Edson in the 17 making his debut in prototype racing. I see raindrops on the lens here. I don't know if the racetrack is damp. Not exactly sure how this pair got there, but it looks like it must have been synchronized spinning. Let's take a look. First car off, and then it's damp down there.
Yeah, it is.
Ooh.
They both, gosh, that was close. Jacob Edson making his debut this weekend. That's the car that was started by Brian Athenas. This week, he's had one test in that car, which was at Thermal Club in Southern California a few weeks ago, where the temperature was 110 degrees. He has had 0 laps before the race here this week. 0, because yesterday, oops, and there's another big crash. That's Scott Huffaker, who's crashed as well at turn, I think that's probably turn 5.
Yeah, I think that's turn 5. Big damage on the 46. Huffaker moving inside the car, looking around. I think he was just talking to the crew, his hand up on the wheel. I'm wondering, we've got either rain.
Yeah, we got rain for sure.
Or some other fluid, but I think it's rain. And now the 7 is off. Trent Hinman is off. That's the toe of the boot. That's exactly where Edson had his problem. So these guys trying to get out, and in comes Trent Hinman, and he almost collects. I'm telling you, for Jake Edson in the 17, it was a near miss while he was sitting there before, and then Hinman almost got a part of him as well. And I think Trent really needs to back out of there. It's somewhat downhill. You don't want to do that, but
you've been there, have you?
Not in a race car. So these guys are trying to leave. And remember the close call Edson had when he spun, almost hit by the 60, and they're trying to get rolling again. They're rolling downhill, so that's advantageous to them. And then in comes Hinman. If Dakota Dickerson can stay in front of Maurice Krantz, he will close down in the championship. With the problem for David Grant in the 40, Alan Brynjolfsson, Trent Hinman, if they have a good run, will leapfrog them and they could take over third in the championship. This is big. Safety car in. Dakota Dickerson thinking, how do I play this game of chess? Where do I move my pieces? 26 minutes to go. Green flag flies. Dickerson on the gas down to turn one. It's time to send it if you're Maurice Krantz. Do you get the job done here? Dickerson looking for temperature in those Michelin tires, moving the car side to side. You want as much temperature as you can get, not only for handling in the dry sections of the racetrack, but especially for the damp areas at the end of the straightaway.
That's exactly right. It's bizarre. It's just, I mean, 200 or 300 yards just at the tip of the toe of the boot is the only part of this track that is wet. Krantz has got a good run here on Dickerson, but again, Dickerson carries a lot of speed into the inner loop. He's able to maintain that advantage over Krantz in second race. Rasmus Lind in third. Behind him is Stephen McAleer, and then Dario Cangialosi. What a good job he is doing in wheel number 47 Motorsports Duquesne. This is the best run that team has had this season. Generally, there's been some difficulties during the races for that car, but now the youngster Dario Cangialosi is in with a proper shout here. He's 21 years of age from Chester, New Jersey. He's a former winner of the FRP Formula 1600 Championships. He's a very, very talented young driver, and he's got his sights set on better than 5th position.
Man, that was intense, absolutely intense. From the exit of the bus stop through the carousel, wet, dry through the laces of the boot, wet again in the toe, and for Dickerson, Krantz, Lynn, McAleer, Cangialosi, they all navigated those waters literally the way they needed to. A definitive move of the hands, the turn in there, almost flat in turn 10, a little brush of the brakes for 11, back onto the front straightaway. Dickerson across the line. What's he have in hand? 1 second with 24 minutes to go. 1 second over the fastest car on the racetrack to this point in time, Maurice Krantz in the 21.
Great restart by both of these two, and Rasmus Lind just left behind at 3.6 seconds he was behind at the end of that first lap under green. That's an astonishing advantage these first two have managed to pull out. One's in a Ligier chassis, that's Dakota Dickerson. The other, Maurice Krantz in a Duquesne. Rasmus Lind also in a Ligier, and clinging on to that third position ahead of Stephen McAleer and Dario Cangialosi. And behind them too, having served that drive-through penalty, that full course caution was excellent news for Garrett Grist in car number 33, who's back in the fray there in that 6th position.
Back on dry pavement after they exited the bus stop. That damp area now down to the toe. This is where it's been damp. You can see the pavement get dark again. It's beginning to get a dry line, but if you get off that line, it's going to be super slick. Still a sheen on the outer area of the racetrack there, so the temperature of the track, the temperature of the sun shining down, beginning to evaporate that water. The racetrack in those two areas is going to change every single lap. It should get better, but when do you let it all hang out? When do you go back to 100% through that area of the racetrack? Sometimes as a driver, you just get into a groove. The car is that good, it's that consistent, and you just drive that pace, and it seems to be what Dakota Dickerson is doing right now. I don't think he's pushing per se, Jeremy. Obviously, he's driving the car hard, but I've not seen a misstep. I've not seen a missed apex. It's been smooth sailing, but the other thing I will give you is it takes a car that's set up well, it takes a driver on his game, but it also takes a pretty phenomenal tire to be this consistent. And the Michelin tires on these LMP3 cars are just that, or Dickerson couldn't do what he's doing. There's the 7 of Trent Hinman trying to hold down the 7th position. Looking at the lap times there, he's been able to get some lap time back out of the 7, but I was surprised, Jeremy, that he wasn't able to fight on that restart and get up in the battle there for a top 5 position.
Yeah, no, I think there seems to be a little bit of damage to that right rear corner, perhaps, on that car. Clearly, it's not as optimum, but Trent Hinman, he's just going to do the best he can at the moment. He and Aaron Brindley-Olsen coming into this weekend 4th in the points. They should probably move up to 3rd. This is a team that won the 2nd round of the championship at Sebring. They're not going to get another win today unless something very strange happens. But given all that's happened during this race for Aaron Brindley-Olsen and Trent Hinman, to come away with a 7th place finish is a lot better than it could have been.
Absolutely. And when you look at the points again, we talked about it. The Grant brothers in 3rd in the championship. They've had big problems. So has Scott Huffaker, Steve Scullen in the 46. They were in the 5th position in the championship. The 6 of Rasmus Lindh and Dan Goldberg, they were in 6th position, so that's going to be good for them. They'll move forward, as will Joe Robillard, Stephen McAleer. If they can come home with a strong finish, McAleer right now holding on to the last of the top 5 spots as Dakota Dickerson works his way past lap traffic. And I think for Dakota Dickerson, that's the biggest challenge right now. The car is just so good and he's in such a groove, nothing can really disturb that other than lap traffic. You just don't want to catch these cars at the wrong time and have someone not see you and make a forceful pass on them and then have that driver turn down on you. So Dakota, I'm sure, will be a little more conservative with some of the passes here, obviously with 3 minutes, just over 3 minutes to go.
Yeah. And
almost 15 seconds in hand. And what an impressive drive it has been here in the last 15 minutes. Really, after that restart, the way he read the racetrack as it changed, the way he brought the tires up to temperature and built that car up to where he could really lean on it hard and pull away from Reach Krantz. Just really a textbook, a very heady, a very mature drive from Dakota Dickerson.
Certainly has been, and you won't be the white flag this time around. It will be the white flag next time around. So 2.5 laps to go, less than that now for Dakota Dickerson. I'm looking though at the 2nd, 3rd and 4th. On that last lap, Rasmus Lindh in 3rd position in car number 6 and Garrett Grist both turned their fastest laps of the race. Grist in 4th for Junior 3 Racing in that car number 33 reset fastest lap of the race, quicker even than Dakota Dickerson, 140.642 for that car number 33.
He was 4 seconds behind, Garrett Grist was behind Rasmus Lindh the last time by, and he too has found the magic that Dakota Dickerson has had. The 33, another Ligier chassis seeming to come good in the hands of Garrett Grist. And once Grist got past McAleer, the lap times began to fall. Rasmus Lindh can't answer that pace, but I think for Garrett Grist, he may be running out of time to catch Rasmus Lindh. Catching Lindh is one thing.
Yeah.
Getting by him with time remaining is something entirely different.
Well, it certainly is, but he's certainly charging hard. Rasmus Lindh responded again. His new best lap last time around, 141.4 to Grist's 41.6 on that last lap. So a big difference in the last 2 laps for Grist, of 140.6 and then 141.6, 4 seconds slower last time around. But that Motel 6 entry for Rasmus Lindh and the Performance Tech Motorsports, he's only a couple of seconds now behind Moritz Krantz, and that would be potentially the battle for second position. It will be white flag this time around.
I'm impressed at the pace this Rasmus Lindh can set down in that number 6. You look at that car closely, the left front just below the headlight, actually on the headlight now, is the dive plane that's supposed to be down. So These dive planes are important. They help balance the car, and also with that piece up in the air as the white flag waves for Dakota Dickerson, also with that piece up in the air, it's going to create more drag and take away some straight line speed. So Rasmus Lind able to fight through that and continue to lay down impressive lap times for Dakota Dickerson. I'm sure the crew on the radio saying, great drive, 1 to go. They're staying calm. They don't want to sound excited. They just want to sound like it's another day at the office. But I guarantee you, if the 54 comes out of turn 11 with the lead here on this final lap and the checkered flag is being held by the starter, the tone on the radio will change. It will go celebratory in a big, big way.
It certainly will. So less than half a lap to go now for Dakota Dickerson, but Rasmus Lind, he's within 2 seconds now of Moritz Kranz in the battle for second place as Dakota Dickerson heads down into the toe of the boot for the last time.
And Grist has closed over a second on Lind in front, but they're going to run out of time. Dakota Dickerson probably held his breath a little bit. One more car he had to get by, Jeremy.
Yeah, another lap to car there. So that was George Stakos, I think, in the car number 61 for Conquest Racing. And second in the P3-2 category. He's well out of the way. Dakota Dickerson now just 2 corners to go for MLT Motorsports, and it's potentially its first win of the season.
Now 1 corner left. I said the tone on the radio will change when Dakota Dickerson exits turn 11. It does indeed. He dips to the wall. A salute to his crew. Dakota Dickerson, Josh Chargé, they win at Watkins Glen. They become the 3rd driver pairing to win in IMSA Prototype Challenge in 2021. Just 4 races into the season. Moritz Krantz will hold on to second. And Krantz, with 2 wins on the season, will hold on to the championship lead, but things are tightening down with 2 races to go in the 2021 championship. In LMP3-2, the 24 car, and Anthony Lazzaro had so much fun in that car in the opening rounds from Sean Creech Motorsports. Now Francesco Melandri behind the wheel. He'll bring that car home for the win in the P3-2 category, and Lazzaro was just absolutely magic. And for a guy like Francesco Melandri, it's great to have a co-driver like Anthony Lazzaro. Can show you the way, show you some tricks he's learned along the way. Those tricks, well, they pay off. They get you to the checkered flag, and they get you the victory at Watkins Glen. Sean Creech Motorsports will celebrate their P3-2 victory this afternoon.
The first win in this championship for Sarche, the 3rd for Dakota Dickerson, and this will move them to within 10 points of the championship lead, as you say, Brian, with 2 races remaining.
Welcome back to Watkins Glen, where the 4th round of the IMSA Prototype Challenge is in the books. Let's take a look through the unofficial results. Dakota Dickerson, stirring drive after the restart. He takes the victory, first of the season for he and Josh Chargé. Krantz in 2nd, Lind in 3rd. Garrett Grist, what a drive. Really up on the wheel, moving that car forward. For Stephen McAleer, Joe Robillard, I know they wanted more, but this is going to help them in the championship. And the 40, when you look at the second page, David and Keith Grant back in the 15th position with problems early on. So all of that is going to stir up the championship here in IMSA Prototype Challenge.
The boys had an awesome pit stop. Ultimately, that's what got us in front of Moritz and ultimately got us the win. So fantastic race. It was tricky with the conditions, but glad to be on the top stop of the podium. The nice thing about Watkins Glen is the sight picture changes a lot with the weather. The track changes color, so you can see where it's damp, where it's dry, and as the track progressed to dry, I think that's what ultimately got us that big gap at the end. So big kudos to MLT Motorsports, Ligier for backing us. Can't wait for VIR in the next round.
It was a fun first stint. It was no rain, so it made it a little easier, and I was just hanging on the back of Moritz, and once when we got the call to box, I just rolled right up on his bumper and pulled in, got a clean stop, and then got the lead in the pit stop. So it was a good one.
Let's take a look at the unofficial points. Maurice Krantz came into the weekend with the championship lead. He holds on to that, but that lead has shrunk considerably with the win for Dakota Dickerson and Josh Arze. Now only 10 points back. Trent Hinman, Alan Brynjolfsson in that bright yellow number 7. They stay third in the points, even with the problems that they had. And for Dan Goldberg, Rasmus Lind, David Grant, Keith Grant, they're now all tied, but Goldberg and Lind, with the better record on the season, are listed in 4th in the championship, the Grant brothers in 5th. The next race for IMSA Prototype Challenge will be in October when round 5 of the season takes place at VIR, Virginia International Raceway, during the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship weekend. Thanks for watching, everyone, and don't forget, NBC is your home for motorsport and, of course, the exclusive network for all of IMSA sports car racing.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of the International Motorsports Association. We would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.